All right, it's officially Sunday, and it's time to start smoking brisket. Let's do it. All right, I gotta be quiet because Allison's sleeping, but the one thing I want to point out before we start is the grain of the meat runs this direction. All right, we got our smoker up to 2 1/4, starting to smoke. Open her up here. All right, so we got our meat in here, fat side up, so the fat drips down through the meat to keep things juicy and tender. And then we have a water pan here to keep some humidity in the machine. Going with a mix of apple and cherry wood. All right, we're gonna check back in about 3-4 hours. Apple juice. All right, we'll check back in another 3 hours or so. Back to bed. All right, one last check before the sun comes up. Bink. So we got some nice caramelization starting on the outside. You can see it shrank. It barely fit before, and now it's nice in there. Alright, that does it for the early morning stuff. Gonna let this go for a few more hours, get a little more sleep, and then we're gonna check it kind of every 90 minutes. We've survived until the morning. Now let's check in on the meat. Yeah, I'd say that looks pretty awesome. Little liquid pooling on the back there. Pretty great. So yesterday I mentioned that this brisket was a USDA choice, but what the heck does that mean? So the United States Department of Agriculture gives meat 8 different levels of grading. Okay, so even though we have 8 different levels or grades of meat, we only care about 3 at the end of the day: select, choice, and prime. And for you ballers, there's Wagyu, but that's super expensive, very hard to find, and typically not really worth it. So we're just going to focus on select, choice, and prime. So within select, choice, and prime, the difference is really the level of fat and marbling within the meat. So the higher you go between select, choice, and prime, the more fat and marbling. So now you might be asking, well, as you go up from select to choice to prime, does the meat really get that much better, or is it just fat? Yes, it's mostly fat, which does add a lot of flavor and texture to the meat, which is important, but like with the coffee, with the higher grades, they cost more money. Because then the manufacturer is charging more money for the prime choice of meat, they tend to take better care of the animal and better care through the process. So my rule of thumb is to always go with choice. It's kind of a nice middle of the road. However, if you have a great butcher that can get prime, that extra level of detail will be worth the price. Our time has arrived. Our brisket is done. Look at that. So we're going to let this beast rest just for a little bit while we finish cooking some other things. Then it's time for Easter dinner. So because the meat grain runs this direction, we're going to slice it opposite, starting at that corner, coming this way. So all said and done, it was 15 hours in the smoker, and it was delicious. So happy with the way it turned out. Worth getting up in the middle of the night. Definitely not the normal when using the electric smoker, but for a huge piece of meat like that, just had to do it through the night. So yeah, happy Easter everybody, and let me know what you thought about the brisket.